Welcome back, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed the networking with your peers and let us know your experience in the networking zone and the exhibition zone with all of us. And please do feel free to keep sharing those learnings and experience with the larger community on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Instagram using the hashtag #TakeHRIN. And now it's time for our next session under the theme Health Tech. The well-being and safety of our workforce has been a top priority for organizations, increasingly so in the last 18 months. And research proves that there is a strong positive correlation between employee well-being and productivity, and hence correlation with companies' performance as well. In this session, we're gonna have the opportunity to have a technology leader with us who's leading the development of engagement and wellness tech solutions. He's going to share with us the importance of well-being and also productivity and how technology can really help us get that aligned. So join me in welcoming Anjan Pathak, CTO and co-founder of Vantage Circle. A very warm welcome, Anjan.
Thank you, Esther. Thanks for the warm welcome. Nice to be here.
Great. Thank you so much. And Anjan brings over 2 decades of experience in building and deploying cross-channel web applications. Having spent more than 15 years working in UK and other parts of Europe, he came to India in 2013, and since then he's been involved in building and mentoring the product operations and marketing team at Vantage. So let's start with the first question, Anjan. And we were reflecting about employee wellness and how it's taken a center stage actually for many of us in the last 18 months. What have you seen the focus of employee wellness shifting in the last 1 year?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So I think what we can see is that there is a new normal, of course, and the new normal is changing as we go. I think the new normal now is like work from anywhere. I think that looks like the next thing that is going to happen, that employees would like to work from anywhere. Not work from home, obviously, because it looks like it doesn't work very well. So I think we need the flexibility that people can come and work as they want in office, or they can work from home as they want. So I think the context is basically the employee wellness has to be centered around this concept, right? The work from anywhere concept, which means the employers may need to deliver wellness um, anywhere. It should be mobile in the sense that, because the current way of doing wellness through some kind of yoga sessions or a gym in office, I think that is probably not going to work anymore. So the same thing that was the investment done before, that has to now work from anywhere for the employees. So I think the whole context is slightly changing. So but some of the points that I'm thinking of focusing on, or I have seen it changing, is actually coming for a long time now, but it's just been accelerated because of COVID-19. um,
Correct.
um, so I think the number one thing that we can see is that there has been a change from the previous way of doing things, which was more about, uh, which is now more about preventive healthcare. So previously it was just insurances, and when you see something going wrong, then the company's insurance covers you for that. But now I think the focus is more on preventive healthcare, which
Yeah.
means we need to. I mean, the employers are looking after the employees before something happens, rather than after something happens, right? So that is definitely coming. Part of the test and all those things that companies done, it's part of that. But it's now even more basically that in the fact that employers are encouraging employees to look after their general wellness, just making sure that they're moving about, their health is well, their mental wellness well. All those things are part of the preventive healthcare paradigm. Basically, that's a kind of change that is happening. The second point I think I'd like to say is that there is a more focused on the holistic employee wellness, which means employers are not just looking at the physical aspect of health, but also the mental, the financial, and environmental. So there are a lot of other things that are coming on. So that is, I think, there is another point. Um the third point is, I think the work, as I said, this is work from anywhere now. So the delivery has to be, from the delivery of the employee wellness has to be done from anywhere. You know, so that means there is a probably a new change that is going to happen very soon, which is kind of the virtual wellness thing. So
Yeah.
we can see that technology is probably going to take more center stage here, so that health or wellness can be delivered through technology, right? So that is another part. Kind of work out from anywhere. I think that is the thing
Mm.
that I think that is going to happen. Uh, the fourth point is, of course, there's more focus on mental wellness, and
Yeah.
I think this is kind of definitely due to COVID. This has accelerated.
Yeah.
The reason being that we human beings are designed to work together, right? And suddenly the shift is like we are just working alone, and that is definitely giving us a lot of toll in our mental health. So there is a lot of focus on the mental health aspect. And I think the other way of looking at it is also the mindful initiatives. There is a lot of talks about mindful, being mindful, and all these things going to happen. So I think that is also part of the same thing, that because people are working overtime, sometimes you know beyond the 9 to 5 job that they would have otherwise done, because they are mostly working from home. So that is taking a toll on the mental health part. I think so that there is a definitely a focus on mental health and wellness now because of COVID-19. Uh, I think another point is that there was, when the COVID-19 started, what was the authorities, the state told us that stay home, stay safe, right? But slowly, I think people are realizing that that is probably not going to work anymore, because it's not going to go, first of all, and it has already taken more than a year now. The thing that usually happens is that, and I have seen it myself in my own case and some of the other people, is that movement is medicine. What I mean by that is that people used to come to office. That was movement, right?
Yeah.
Uh, even small amount of steps that they used to do, that was a movement. And now, I mean, I won't say everyone, but a lot of people are just sitting at home. So I think that is definitely, there is a problem there. So what is the shift is now: stay home, stay safe, but keep moving. There has to be
Wonderful.
movement. So that is another change that's going to happen, I think. So that is uh, how we deliver that. That is a different problem. And I think
And
what we
I'm
can
gonna
see is
come
that,
to that.
yeah, there's a
I'm gonna
rise,
come to that
right?
in a
Sure.
minute, Anjan. And I think there is just so many data points that you're sharing with us in terms of some of those
Hmm.
trends that you saw even pre-COVID. But as you
Yeah,
correctly said, because of COVID, those are becoming really not only speeding up, but also becoming more central
correct.
to HR leaders as well. So you spoke about the delivery now being wherever the employee is, in whichever context the employee is. You talked about holistic and not only mental and financial and physical, as you're saying, get moving, but also the layer of mindfulness and resilience as well. And I love your point about preventive as opposed to really look at just insurance as a well-being, but really
Hmm.
looking at how do we help our employees to be healthier generally. And I think your point about delivering through tech, which is where you're going on, how do we do that, and how do we reimagine those well-being channels as offerings, and especially because you come from the tech space. So tell us, how is technology going to support that shift to really help us redefine wellness?
Yeah. So there are basically, of course, there is really a big rise of wellness apps. Because these wellness apps, whether you see even mindfulness is delivered through wellness apps now. Mental health is can be delivered through wellness apps. You have got apps like Calm and Breathe and all these apps. They are getting billion-dollar valuation. So I think there is a lot of shift in the sense that, because everyone is having their mobile phones in their hands, in their pockets, basically. So how do you deliver wellness through the mobile apps? People have suddenly realized that, and that is definitely there is a big shift and rise in the space of wellness apps. um, but I think there is another change that is going to happen in the next couple of years, which is that the rise of smartwatches and wearables. Why I'm seeing that is, I think it's last decade or so, we have seen the rise of mobile phones, right? And similarly, the rise of mobile apps in the mobile phones. But now it's almost everyone has got that, right? So that's done basically. And now it's going to be smartwatches. I think most of the time, what mobile phones used to do, now it will be done by smartwatches. And similarly, wearables, right? So these smartwatches and wearables, right, they're going to create a platform where I think employers will be able to kind of deliver the wellness initiatives through these wellness devices, and it's going to be everywhere. I know, because people are going to have it. So that's the best part, because every employee is going to have the probably in the next decade, right? Every employee will have a smartwatch which will be able to track the general things. And now the smartwatches are getting even more intelligent. They are even Apple Watch, for example, it can even track your ECG. So I mean, this is brilliant, I think. So you will be able to actually see if there is a problem in any of the employees' health already, just looking at the data. Basically, if you can get at the data and show it in a nice way, and in fact that is where we are working right now. How can we make use of these smartwatches and create a platform where employers can use them, basically? So I think that is going to be a big change that is going to happen very soon.
Wonderful. And I'll be wondering and thinking whether, some of our leaders who are listening to you may be thinking also as well. Um, where is that boundary? Before I go to the next question, where is that boundary of leveraging data? Where is that boundary between, privacy of my information, which is wearable, which is my data, and the opportunity to use that data to prevent actually any illness or any risks which can actually be prevented?
Yeah, I can understand that question, and that is where I think there is the third parties are getting involved, because companies like us, right? We have got a responsibility to the employees not to expose personal data. So we always make sure that, and I think there is a trust as well, because this is a third party app, right? So that is not going to be exposed ultimately. So we
Awesome.
have a responsibility. We, in our privacy policies, it's all there that no personal data, individual data, sensitive data will be ever shared with the employer. So that is
Awesome.
that is an important point. But beyond that, if you are really sick and if you're not well, and if once someone wants to help you, right? I don't think there is a problem of getting that data. So I think health data is probably, yeah, some of the health data can be sensitive, but as long as it's secured and as long as it's already been taken the permission from the employee, I think that there should not be any problem. So yeah, we,
Wonderful.
we are we are looking at all this aspect very seriously right now.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that, because I think that's the benefit of having partners like yourself, as external partners to support us from employer perspective, because then you can
Mm.
really be seen as that trusted partner as well. All right. So let me invite you to think about, I think many leaders who may be listening to us, Anjan, have started a lot of well-being initiatives. They all start with a big momentum and a big, excitement. And the big challenge is keeping that excitement and sustaining it, that adoption over a period of time. So what will be some of your tips as you work with many organizations that leverage your platform and work with you? What have you seen as successful implementations that sustain?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I think you're right that usually the leaders just try out something, and if it doesn't work, then kind of give up. And the reason that is happening is because there is no one size fits all solution when it comes to wellness. So I think the most important thing is to try out. We kind of call it, in our own technology world, we kind of call it A/B testing, which means you take a group of people and then see what works for them. You take another group of people and see what works for them, and then kind of decide which one is basically more successful. So it should not be like, okay, first of all, number one thing is, first of all, you need to be data driven, uh, because without data, right, you won't be able to decide, which means you really need a data driven platform. And on that data driven platform, and the mobile apps is definitely a different great way. And then you deliver a kind of different wellness initiative on that platform, and actually see the participation, what happens, right? Previously this kind of things was very difficult, but now with these kind of wellness apps and surveys is another great way. We really need to deliver the initiative, but not as a kind of a one size fits all solution, but as like give it to a group A, group B, and then see which one is more successful. And remember, wellness is different for different people. So someone might like to do yoga, to stay fit, but someone might like to run, or someone might like to go to gym, right? So if you just give everyone yoga sessions, it's not going to work. So we need solutions which is probably going to, the employee will be able to pick and choose which one they want to use. and then you see basically which one is more effective, and the other thing is that I think the most important thing is probably that um, you know the data driven platform, once you analyze the data, right, then you'll be able to actually see which part is working really well on which kind of employees. Maybe the female employees need something else, depending on the different kinds of clusters you have got in the companies. Some people could be working uh, totally sitting, but some people could be mobile. So you need different solutions for different people. So at the end of the day, I think the first point that I'm going to say is that you need a data driven platform, and you need to be able to measure what is happening amongst the employees, and then based on that you can take some decisions. The second
Awesome.
point I'd like to yeah second point I'd
Yeah, go
like to
ahead.
say is that there should be a leadership commitment. Without the leadership commitment, this is not going to work. We have seen a lot of people, a lot of initiatives that
Mm,
where there is not enough commitment from the top leadership, and if that doesn't happen, then it's very difficult. And leaders not just to be committed, but they need to be showing the way. They need to walk the walk basically, and they need to show that the company overall is taking health very seriously. So there should be a kind of a culture of health in the company, and the leadership needs to take that as a business priority, not just a kind of a side thing, but as a business priority, employee health, so that they can be really committed into this initiative.
super.
The third point is I think the clear communication and the buy-in from employees.
Yeah,
What I mean by that is that you really need health ambassadors. So if you do not involve your employees, right, if it's just an HR initiative, it may not work very well. So what I have seen is that where there is employee involvement, or rather there's some ambassadors, not just health champions but also ambassadors, and the ambassadors can come from the employees themselves. So when there is something like that, then it's definitely a lot more successful. Okay.
super.
And the final point is I would like to say is that do not create something which is just one off. For example, if you just have a yoga session, or a yoga session, or a mindfulness activity for a week, that is probably not going to work. What you need is habit forming initiatives. What I mean by habit forming initiative is basically things that can stay for a long time. So you need to have long term commitment for these kind of things. uh, One of the things that we have seen is definitely the incentives work. So that definitely can drive the overall commitment from the employees, because what we have seen is that uh, it's kind of habit forming, right? So you need a reward for what you're doing, and you need a cue, and then the reward, and then of course the action. So that cue can come from the mobile apps like notifications or whatever, and you need to do something right today, and then you do something, and then you instantly see some reward because of that. So, and employee incentives can be, financial rewards can be one of the things that can work. So yeah, these are the things that we have seen, that if we are taking all these things as into the solution, that can definitely work.
So you were talking about, Anjan, the the 5 areas that I picked up, and just see if I've missed any. So one was about using platforms, technology that really provides you with that opportunity to test and also to gather data. Very, very critical. The second thing that you spoke about was about variety and making sure that there is enough variety for the different people segments, and people have the choice to opt
Mhm.
into whatever works for them. Then you spoke about leadership commitment, and I'm going to ask you to give us some examples of, maybe without mentioning if you're not, if you're not comfortable, but some examples of leaders that you've seen walking the talk, and what do they do? How does that leadership commitment really manifest? And that will be fantastic. Then you also spoke about communication and ambassadorship. And then finally, you spoke about habit forming and reward. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions that I'd love to double click. One is about the leadership commitment. If you could share some manifestations of what you have seen great leadership teams do to make this initiative sustainable.
Yeah, so I have been trying out this myself for a long time now. First of all, I myself I'm concerned about health. So the employees usually see. So we have got a leaderboard there, and usually I try to be there. And of course, I share my workouts and everything, because there's a feed people can see. that is a very small thing. But beyond that, I think what the leadership team needs to do is like they need to start with the conversation. Like for example, in every performance review that I do, I usually start with the question, how you're doing, how is your health? And that really is a changing thing, I believe, because then the employee feels that the employer actually cares about them, health wise, not just the career or the performance or whatever, the work. So I think that is one thing that I can see that I think we should do probably. That first thing that you should check with the employees, that check out how is the health. Is it okay? Are you okay? First of all, so that is one thing. So I think the leadership team needs to really look after that that simple kind of compassion and kindness, and looking after the employees, and then you know all the time encourage them, basically. Are you doing enough, basically? So I think that is the thing that leadership team needs to do, and I have seen that if that is done, that works out really well. Sorry,
Awesome.
what was the
Thank you.
second question
Yeah,
you
the second
asked?
question was related to your last point about that this initiative shouldn't be a one-off, like a week or a day or a month, but just about habit formation. And you spoke about incentives and really create that opportunity to reward those behaviors that are really aligned to that habit forming. Can you tell us a little bit about how do you sustain those nudges? How do you design them? What really works?
Yeah. So what I would say is that one of the things that needs to do, basically, is that the initiative and all these things, right? It doesn't work out. I have seen that it doesn't work for everyone. Different people gets involved at different times, and we as leaders also have an opportunity to give nudges. For example, what we can do is, like, I do that all the time. If one of the employees have suddenly come up to the leaderboard, right, I try to nudge them, hey, you have done really well. uh, and that gives an impression that the leadership is actually looking after the employees. The second thing that I can also see, because it's data driven platform, it's that if someone has been there in the leaderboard and they have been working out or doing things, and suddenly for a week or so they are not there, maybe due to illness or whatever, basically maybe they're just not there, maybe they are not interested anymore. Then I need to go and ask, what is happening, why you're not there. So even though I am not actually looking at the data all the time, but the platform gives me that data, that these people were there in the leaderboard last week, but it's not there anymore, right? So maybe there is an opportunity to check with them, and I genuinely go and ask, you are not there basically anymore. Why? What's wrong? Are you okay, basically? And that gives the employee kind of a feeling that actually the leadership is looking after us. They care about
Wonderful.
us. So that
Wonderful.
that is one thing. The other thing is that, as I said, basically, different employees or different people comes into these initiatives at different times. So if you force people to do things right at one go, it doesn't work, because there is this thing called, we want to be, there's a pride of the tribe, and the pride of the tribe tends to kick in at different times. And people wants to do want to be social, and they do want to be part of the initiative. Maybe not first day, first week, but at some point, you know and that kicks in. They suddenly see them in the leaderboard, or they see that some other employees are talking about the initiative, and then they suddenly start doing that, basically, right? So yeah, as I said, it needs to be a sustained long-term initiative. The other thing that we have also seen is that if it's just a one-off, right, there is almost like an Olympic level competition. What we have seen is that if you just start off one-off kind of a walking initiative, some employees, right, they tend to be really, really into it. And when it is like that, then they end up walking, like we have seen people walking up to 80,000 steps, which means about 40 kilometers in a day. So that happens, and that doesn't really help, isn't it, as you can think of. So it needs to be a sustained long-term initiative where the employees can see that it's not just one day or 1 week, it's going to be long term. And so yeah, that is what I think I would say about this.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Anjan. And we spoke about in the beginning, we spoke about how there is a clear correlation between well-being and productivity, not only from the individual perspective, but how it spreads to teams and organization at large. So, what has been your experience of measuring the ROI of these wellness initiatives, not only in your own organization, but with clients that you work? What has you seen the business impact that wellness has brought into organizations you work with?
Yeah, this is slightly a difficult question to answer because for us, we are a very small company and we are growing, of course, but uh, we can see that there are a lot of things that we do. Of course, wellness is just one of the initiatives, but overall culture is one of the very important things as well. Directly correlating the productivity or organizational productivity to employee wellness, it's slightly difficult, but it can be done. And in fact, some of the studies have been done in the US. There's an award called Coop Award, where they actually studied. They took up 100 companies and they gave awards, and they saw that the companies which takes up employee wellness as an initiative, their stock prices are much higher basically. So there was definitely a great correlation there. But overall, what we can see is that there are side effects, right? Because of this, uh, the side effects are there, which are definitely obviously improves the overall productivity. The side effects are like, for example, lower employee absenteeism, which means people are taking less sick leaves. So of course, less sick leaves means more productive days. So definitely that can be measured very easily. So that's very easy to measure actually. The second is probably a better talent attraction. This is an important point because what I can see is that uh, the younger generation or the Gen G and millennials basically, I think they are a lot more health conscious than the previous ones, right? Why I'm saying is that there is we can see that in two of the most important thing in India, for example, you know, in as Indians, like we are, there is two big industries in India. One is of course the movie industry. We fondly call it Bollywood, and the other is the cricket, of course. And what we can see is that the current generation of actors, right? They are a lot more fitness conscious than previous ones. Similarly, the cricket, Virat Kohli, he has changed the whole dressing room now. Fitness is the mantra now. So, and if you see the 70s, cricketers from 70s, there's a big difference. So I think there is definitely an overall shift. People wants to look good. They want to be fit, which means the newer employers, right? Of course, employees, they will of course look for employers which are going to give this as part of the job, employee health. So I think you are going to get better. You'll be probably able to attract better talent, and employee retention is also better because ultimately people are realizing that health is wealth. So you can be paid so much, but ultimately if the health is not good, then it's not going to work. So preventive healthcare is becoming more important. So again, you will have better retention, which means better productivity. And the final part is, of course, better engagement. Mm, what you can see is because of these wellness initiatives that we have done, and these are beyond the normal 9 to 5 working hours, right? And even then people are connected because they are checking the apps. They are probably discussing things about their wellness to their wellness administrators or the champions. So they are connected even beyond the working hours. So I think that really, and they're connected for a different reason, which is about themselves, which is about health. So that definitely brings drives a lot better engagement than anything ever it can do basically. I think that's
Wonderful.
another point that I can think of.
Thank you, Anjan. And there's just so much of knowledge and so many ideas that you've shared with us in such a short period of time. Thank you very much. So we just have 1 minute left, and very, very quickly, if you were to summarize and leave with us one thing that you want to leave with us when we are embarking in designing wellness programs, one thing we must stop doing and one thing we must start doing, but just one thing to stop, one thing to start. What would that be?
I think the one thing that I would say is that I think there should be an initiative where we should promote movement, just movement, because as I
Movement.
said, movement is
Awesome.
medicine, and we should
And
encourage
one thing to
movement
stop.
amongst the employees, whether they're doing it inside the company or outside the company. Because I think we cannot just stuck at home. different people have different ways of doing things, but movement, even through yoga, even that is enough.
Awesome.
But we need to move. I think that is the most important thing. The stay at home, which has been the very strong, masses, and that could be have a negative effect. I think so. I think that needs to change slightly, and movement has to start now. I think that is the
Thank
number
you
one
so
thing I
much.
would say.
Very
Yeah.
good, very good. So thank you so much for leaving it with us, for sharing your reflection about technology and how we sustain these initiatives, and also the impact that it will have in our talent attraction, retention, and engagement as well. So thank you very much once again, Anjan, for joining. And please, everyone else as well, thank you for joining us. In our next session, we're going to now move to the next session. But before that, thank you very much once again, Anjan.
Thank you, Esther. Thanks for having me here.
Wonderful. So our next session on purpose-driven culture, stay please in main track 1 if you want to be part of the elevator pitches by leading startups in the HR and work tech space, and then you can then move to track number 2 if you're interested in joining those. All right. So thank you very much, and I'll see you the rest of the day.